Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another speed build for the Disney Save. Today we're going to be working on the final build for Moonwood Mill. This is going to be Halloween Town from The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is a recreation center. That is a new lot type that was added, I believe, with high school years, which is a newer pack to me. I didn't buy it straight when it came out and I haven't built a rec center for the Disney Save yet. I've made a couple of these like towny, villagey type of builds for the save file so far, and in the past what I'll usually use is a community space because it feels very much like community vibes. You have all of your Sims kind of come together in a town center. We did this with Belle's Village, and there's lots of activities for your Sims to do that are related to town life, but I thought it would be good to try to do a new lot type, and a recreation center does feel similar enough in that aspect. It is a place where Sims come together and there's lots of activities to do on the lot, but there isn't that transition between different types of lots and the voting process that is with the community lots. So although the community spaces are really cool, they do take a lot more work because you have to essentially come up with 4 different versions of the same build. And I just want to kind of save those for maybe the future where we have more things where we can do 4 different things in each slot. Like I did in Hemford on Bagley, I did a Brave themed one of those. And every single time your Sims vote for a new thing, the lot will physically change to something completely different. So I figured we'll save that and maybe just do a rec center. It's obviously going to be more than one building because we're going for like those town village vibes, but at the end of the day it's supposed to be like a town center. And specifically when you think of Halloween Town, watching the film back as well, because I did watch the film before doing all of these builds and I'm really grateful that I did. It definitely helped with some of those details that you're going to be seeing throughout all of the builds if you're a big Nightmare Before Christmas fan. There is like a dedicated town hall building, and so that has to be the focal point for this build. It's pretty much the last major building that's shown in Nightmare Before Christmas that I haven't built yet. Everything else, for the most part, with the exception of like some smaller village homes that you kind of see in the peripherals and the backgrounds, I've built pretty much the entire Nightmare Before Christmas set up to this point. So we have to have the town hall building. It's also the scene that Jack brings all of the town villagers in and explains that they're going to be doing Christmas instead and gives them the whole display and all of the decorations and stuff and gives everyone their new roles for Christmas. That is the building that this takes place in. And then there's a bunch of buildings around that are for like I said, they're going to be villager homes, but because this is more of a lot where Sims are going to come and want to do activities and interact with one another, I focused on making those extra buildings really functional for the space and putting lots and lots of items here that I felt like were really good for specifically Halloween Town, because there's so many activities in The Sims 4 that you can choose from, so we have to kind of pick and choose things that are more appropriate for this film. There are some that are required per the law, of course, that I probably wouldn't have used otherwise. One of those being you have to do some gym equipment. But luckily this time around I was able to hide some of it in some of the buildings so it's not super obvious. And we did get some new gym equipment with werewolves that I feel like is a little bit more aesthetically matching everything else that we of course have going on with Moonwood Mill. One of the other big things that I wanted to make sure was included in Halloween Town, there was really 2. There is this main building, of course, that I knew was going to be like the focal point of it. And then there is the green sludge glowy fountain that's right in the middle of the town center. It has this giant, like almost gargoyle type alien thing over the top of it that shoots down and makes the actual like water fountain go down. We definitely don't have anything like that, so I had to try to recreate something the best that I possibly could. And then there is like this general look of Halloween Town that's very curvy and lots of these curved stone walls intersecting in points that almost don't feel like they make complete sense. And some of them don't. Like you'll see the way that I've pieced them together here. They will meet at certain points and then almost create like gaps that don't really have room to fit anything into them. Kind of like double layers of stone walls with just enough space for like a person to walk through, but it's not a pathway. That's the best way I can explain it. it's very curved, it's very chaotic, and I originally tried to do it with like round rooms, round walls, and then using actual fences in the game, but ultimately it was a mess and it was not turning out anywhere near what I actually needed it to be. So I went into debug, found these amazing, I love these walls, these stone walls from Cottage Living. I've used them in other builds and they're a total lifesaver, especially because they come in so many sizes and they size up and down really, really well. And then you have all the connecting points. It's a really, really great piece. So I've used these instead, and it helps give this whole lot a lot more curves than I would have been able to get if I just used curved walls and things. That I tried it. It was creating a whole nightmare for me logistically with like foundations and trying to match the floor to the ground. It was just a mess. So I'm really glad we have this piece to be able to use. Now, something that I personally wanted to make sure was here, but isn't necessarily required for this lot type, is a playground. I haven't done one of these in a long time, and I think when you think of Nightmare Before Christmas, you don't necessarily think right away about like a playground, but I was thinking about Lock, Shock, and Barrel, and I wanted to do this like creepy little playground on this lot for them, have it have like some decorations, some Halloween stuff, some little skeletons and ghosts around, so it's totally their vibe and it fits into the town vibes. There would be something like this in a little village like this if it was just a normal village. It wasn't like Halloween Town. So I was thinking of them very much, and I really wanted to include this over here. You do have to have, I think, some kind of playground equipment. It might just be like monkey bars, or like you can do like one thing, but I wanted to have a whole little playground back there for them. So that's very, very much for Lock, Shock, and Barrel. There will be one other child sim that's featured as a townie for this world. This is the last build for Moonwood Mill. It's actually the 100th build of the Disney save, if I haven't mentioned that already. It is a pretty big moment. We've come so far. There's been so much that's gone into the save file already. I can't even really believe and think about the fact that I have 100 lots that I've created in the game, and there's many more to come. It's just like such a big milestone. So yeah, this is the 100th build of the save file, but it's not the last thing we're doing for Moonwood Mill. I'm gonna have at least 2 more videos coming out with some extra characters that are not Nightmare Before Christmas themed, and one of them includes a child that could also play on the playground and be friends with Lock, Shock, and Barrel. So all of that keeping in mind. The other thing that I was very personally stuck on was having some kind of a building that could function as a very small, very shabby, creepy library. One of the things that you need to include in Moonwood Mill is the ability for random sims, and your sim really, if you want to play through like the story of The Sims 4 Werewolves, there's a library that comes by default with this world, and you can use that library to investigate and get through a lot of the story that goes on in this world. Very specifically, there are some books that you need to find, and they will spawn on, turns out, according to people in the Sims forums, any library shelf, or any bookshelf rather, that you put into this world has the possibility to spawn the books that you need to go through the lore. And my thought is that for the most part in the save file, I want to try to keep the ability for players to be able to go through the lore and the storylines of the given worlds, even though they're not Disney related. If you wanted to, I really am trying to keep that possibility still there. So rather than do like a dedicated library, I felt like as long as we included a lot of bookshelves throughout the community lots, and even just some of the residentials, like Finkelstein's Lab has tons of bookshelves very purposefully, so you could have that same sort of idea. Go see the town doctor, maybe pick out a book, and then you have that option there to have quite a few books, and hopefully one of them will spawn between that lot, this lot that does have its own building that has a full dedicated like little mini library. It's not anything major, and Jack's home also of course has bookshelves. So between all of that, you should be able to go through the normal storyline if you wanted to. There is also many more activities here that are ranging very widely. As you can see, I included a pool, very small, meant to be more like a lagoon, little dirty looking, and that is for Undersea Gal, of course, the character villager that we created in a previous video. Very specifically wanted to give our mermaid friend an area that she could have like a proper pool to swim in, especially because I'm not quite sure about swimmable water in Moonwood Mill. Someone let me know if you've played very thoroughly with this world in the comments. Do you know if there is swimmable water in Moonwood Mill? I have a feeling there probably is not, but I haven't gotten a chance to fully explore that aspect of this pack yet. There is pumpkin pumpkin carving, nectar making, the fizzy drinks from Eco Lifestyle. I felt like that sort of tied in. You have to have music of some kind with this slot, so there is an organ and I think a couple of the more shabby like instruments that you put together yourself and you can construct. A telescope, the seasons machine that takes care of weather and lets you control the weather. Felt like that was sort of appropriate for this world and this lot, considering that it probably never snows here, so you could theoretically, if you wanted to like play through the story, have the ability to make it so that you can change the weather when you want to. Podium, a sundial, a bonfire, and there's honestly probably more. I'm not coming up with that much more off the top of my head, but the point was to have as much to do as possible, but also, again, sticking with the theming of Nightmare Before Christmas. There's certain activities in The Sims that you could put here, but you probably wouldn't want them here. Oh, there's games on the lot as well. That's the one that I'm forgetting. I wanted to include a couple of those sit-down games. So again, like when you have choices between those ones, there's the ones where you can play like Don't Wake the Llama, but that one doesn't really fit with Nightmare Before Christmas, so instead I went with Sabacc. I feel like it's a really weird poker style game, but it has this like industrial element to it. I don't know, there's actually a lot of Star Wars stuff on this lot. I was surprised. I was looking through the catalog trying to come up with more things to fill in the spaces, do general decor, keep it kind of like industrial and creepy the way that we sort of similarly have been doing with the other builds for this world. Star Wars has really come in handy for this world in ways that I wasn't expecting, but very specifically this lot. It has so many weird decor items in it that I feel like they're just random set pieces from Batuu. Like there's no reason that you would probably ever use them in pretty much anything else other than what's related to Star Wars, unless it's my save file, because I can use those weird industrial looking pieces and just kind of keep them around as like village set dressing, extra pipes on the walls, extra little like nondescript sort of like building accessories. You don't really know what they do, it doesn't really matter. And just looking at like one of my really big helpful things when creating this world was the actual set pieces from Nightmare Before Christmas. They have had them on display, like the models that they used when they made the film, on various museums and various showings at different points in time. So there are photos of them available online, and so you can actually really see like how Halloween Town is designed, how the pathing and the fences sort of go, the buildings, how many there are. And I tried to stick with it for the most part, but there is like that whimsical aspect of Tim Burton stuff that is a little bit hard to represent well in The Sims 4 because it has like this curviness to it that you're not really able to get with just like buildings. But we can add those weird little accessory pieces that I see pretty much everywhere throughout the town, and the lighting as well was really helpful. This build also features my very first attempt at a spiral staircase. It is done with Tool. It's not functional, of course. I wish it would be, and hopefully there will come a day where The Sims does release spiral staircases officially, although I feel like even though so many people want them and they would be great, of course, I have a feeling they're going to take up a lot of space if we ever get them, like at least easily 6 to 9 tiles, and so I still won't be able to use them for those weird corners that I make. And like when I do castles, and I always say if I use round walls, I would love to be able to have a staircase that hugs the wall. That's not exactly the same as doing a spiral staircase, especially those more like industrial looking ones that sit right out in the middle and like come straight into your living room. I'm talking about like old school castle, stone against the wall vibes. I don't think we'll ever get that truly, and that's really what I need, especially in castle builds, but for things like this as well. One of the buildings from the model, very clearly, it was probably some sort of observatory, or I think my theory is that it is the home to the Harlequin demon, because the house is shaped exactly like the body of the character. It has like a round ball on top, but it's cut open and it has like teeth coming out of it, so it looks very much like the character. They had a spiral staircase coming off of that in a very curvy, whimsical way, and rather than just like create that house, because again, we're not using any of the buildings on this lot for homes, I wanted them all to be super functional for the village, I still wanted to create something sort of like it, so I made like a makeshift version of it. It's not really that similar, if I'm being honest. It's not round at all. I did avoid using round walls when trying to do this build. As you guys have heard in previous videos, I'm a little frustrated with them recently, so I tried to kind of avoid it, especially after first starting out this build and really trying to do lots of curved fence pieces. That was causing like a whole chaotic mess. So I tried to avoid them for the remainder of this build, and you know, I was just looking at it and it really needed like a proper staircase, and I thought, why not try to do one with tulle? I've seen people do this before, and I just thought I'd give it a go. It kind of adds something to the building. You're meant to sort of go through it so that you can get to the pond area around the back and swim if you want to, or you can go inside, and that is where the fizzy juice station is, and then up top on that area that's completely open, that is the sabacc / telescope area. So there's a lot to do in that little building there. Another thing that Star Wars comes with that I have used a lot throughout a lot of the builds in Moonwood Mill is these weird little crates that are for all different purposes in the Star Wars pack, but they are just like metal crates, and we don't have a ton of things like that. So I've sort of placed those all over the place. They really help to bulk up the town and make it look a lot more lively. It's like, I tried to think about this like if it was a village in Hemford on Bagley, because it's very much got like small town vibes, and almost the way I'm trying to avoid it is like I didn't want this to go too farm towny. You can't have hay barrels, you can't have lots of plants around, you can't have like regular pathing, you can't have a lot of the debug decor that's going to come from the cottage living pack or from the wedding pack, which is really what I lean into heavily when I'm trying to do like debug objects for decor and things. Just avoiding plants in general, but using lots of pumpkins instead was like a really good way to give it more of a spooky vibe and not make it look too lively at the same time. Belle's Village has lots of plants, lots of life to it, lots of animals running around, and this is supposed to be like the opposite of that, but similar. There's still that sense of community, that sense of everybody coming together to do things in a similar space, but you don't want it to feel too party, too lively, lots of animals, and I couldn't really use plants. I had to use a lot of those dying rose bushes from the vampire pack that's come in so handy as well when it comes to just doing general builds for Nightmare Before Christmas. I did want to decorate a lot with the Halloween stuff, but I didn't want to overdo it because it would make it look almost too festive, and that's not really the vibe of Halloween Town. There is some decor around, there is lots of pumpkins that you can see, there is lots of jack-o'-lanterns. They like to stake jack-o'-lanterns onto some of the fencing and put them along the fence walls. There's also scenes with little tiny ghosts coming out of the fences and out of the graveyards and things nearby, and we can do like a mini graveyard, things like that. But I didn't want to hang the decorations all over the place, the purple and the orange banners and streamers and all of the little stickers and things. It would make this place look almost too happy, and it would take away from the general tone that we're going for here. So instead, I stuck with just a few of those orange banners across the main town hall building, and then lots of pumpkins, but really not too much else. I played with color a bit. Using those lava lamps that come from Strangerville, you can like hide those in the walls and it'll make a glowing effect in the surrounding area. I love to use those. It really helps to create a tone that I'm looking for. So using that kind of stuff instead of like general decorations. Some of the buildings I really wanted to show off because it features a lot of stuff to do, and then a lot of them are really small and weirdly shaped and packed so closely together that it just doesn't make for great footage, so I did skip some of them, particularly the one that is located directly behind our little telescope observatory house there. That is actually just like a normal looking home. In the inside you can go in, and I just try to put like every lot that I do that's big like this and you might spend a lot of time here, there has to be a bathroom, and then there has to be maybe like a place where you could go do other things that your sim is going to need, like sleeping. So I don't know why you would want to sleep here, but if you wanted to, I don't know, it's there. There's a coffin in there for my vampire sims that I don't get to use too often, because although we have made quite a few vampires for the Disney save, it's very rare that we're doing like a very traditional one that actually uses the coffins that we have in games, so I thought we'd put one in there. Then the last thing to do really was this main building that is the town hall. Now this building is so small and it is shaped really weirdly, like it's very skinny and long. When you see it in the film, they walk in and it has this huge stage and a podium, and Jack is giving a little impromptu, not speech, but demonstration on like Christmas and showing all of the decorations and reassigning roles and everything for basically explaining what the new plan is going to be for them to be doing Christmas this year. And it's set up the opposite way that I have this building, but it's shaped the same way. So again, this is like the classic example of stuff made by Disney that doesn't match the interior and the exterior. So I decided to, rather than like cram it in or make it really weird looking and try to fit it like upstairs and have it be super weird, we would just do it long ways and have the stage be on one end there, and then I could do my little Christmas display and have my pop of Christmas in this particular lot that I was really excited to do because it's such a contrast from everything else that's going on here. This building is 3 layers tall, but I've cut off the top floor. It just didn't need that much space, and it was much better looking to have it have really high ceilings and some glass panels on top so that Sims can sort of look up and out. The organ originally down there does get moved upstairs where it's going to have a little bit more space, and we can just have this stage area down on the bottom floor as is designated per the movie. And that is pretty much going to be it for today's build. I hope you guys enjoyed the 100th build for the Disney Save. I should have taken more time to really reflect on all of the builds and everything that has happened so far with the save file. It's been years worth of work at this point, but I just want to take a moment instead to say that I'm really, really grateful, especially for those of you who have followed along on the journey. Many of you have told me for years now, and it's just so amazing to me. I can't even imagine anybody sticking with me that long, all the way back from Twitch streaming and like way early on in the Disney Save. So special thank you to those of you who have been here for a long time, but thank you to all of you as well who watch regularly and who support me and the work that goes into the save file. I really, really appreciate you. I don't get a chance to say it enough, and I just wanted to say thank you. If you'd like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will talk to you all in the next one.